Ryan Adams, Bad Gigs, and the Fine Art of the *T Show. It was clear from the first few seconds that this was not going to be an ordinary gig. Within moments of Ryan Adams, the former golden boy turned unforgettable of the old country scene, taking the stage at Dublin's Vicar Street last week, wearing a tweed suit more becoming of a Victorian-era doctor and mumbling something incoherent off mic, the vibes were off. In truth, Adams probably shouldn't be touring at all. While the 50-year-old has always been prone to rambling between songs, reports from the weekend's gig in Belfast, after which he apparently suffered an epileptic seizure when fans ignored rules prohibiting flash photography, included him making comments about a Madonna's vagina, picking a fight with an audience member, and reportedly storming off stage early. The last time I saw him was in 2003 at the Olympia Theatre, when he was touring his fourth album Rock 'N' Roll. At the peak of his fame, it was the hottest ticket in town. To tell the truth, I don't remember a whole lot about that gig, other than the fact that it was so shambolic that I vowed never to waste money on a ticket for Ryan Adams again. Yet 22 years later, here I was. Sadly, it seems like little has changed other than the fact that Adams is now even more fragile, narcissistic, volatile and self-pitying, not a good combination when placed in front of an audience. Luckily, the Vicar Street crowd remained hushed and respectful, but with everyone on a knife edge lest they say or do something to set him off, it made for a weird atmosphere. When he started making ill-advised jokes about how one song was about boning two chicks at the same time, or asking any hot Irish girls in the audience to come to his hotel room, it was downright uncomfortable. And for a man attempting to rehabilitate his image following a #Me Too cancellation in 2019, it's not a good look. Here's a thought, Ryan, perhaps just don't mention women at all. The tortured genius shtick does not nullify the misogyny. And perhaps most unfortunately, for him and the audience, it was all at the expense of the music, which, for the most part, still stands up. Yet the music was not what most people were discussing as they filed out of the venue after those 3 strange hours. Truly, it was a watch between your fingers kind of gig. Of course, Adams is far from the only car crash performance that Irish audiences have witnessed. The big one that springs to mind is one that has gone down in Irish gig lore, when Axl Rose allegedly engaged in fisticuffs with MCD boss Dennis Desmond backstage at the O2 in Dublin in 2010. The reason? Guns N' Roses had only taken the stage at 11 p.m., the venue's curfew time, and departed it just a few minutes later, after the band were pelted with bottles by a frustrated crowd. The promoter was not happy, words were exchanged, and needless to say, it's a gig that won't be remembered for its set list. Nor will the infamous Babsgate, when Barbara Streisand's 2007 gig at Castletown House in Kildare was marred by a disastrous traffic plan, poor seating arrangements and a deluge that turned the site into a mud bath. The following Monday, Joe Duffy's hotline had never seen the likes. Send in the clowns, indeed. And just last year, Nicki Minaj fans were raging after the hip-hop star arrived over 90 minutes late for her gig at Malahide Castle, and then proceeded to phone in a performance that lasted less than an hour. Then there are the gigs, like Adams, that just feels off for non-logistical or quality-related reasons. Earlier this year, Lemonhead's frontman Evan Dando turned in a shambolic performance at Dublin's Ambassador Theatre, with half-baked covers, disinterested snippets of his own songs, and more than a few F***K directed at the audience, causing more than a few fans to walk out. Like Adams, Dando has battled his demons over the years, but if touring wreaks havoc on an already fragile artist's unraveling mental state, perhaps it's simply something that they should not put themselves, or their fans, through. It's difficult to watch, but unfortunately, it's something we've seen time and time again over the years. As someone who witnessed Amy Winehouse's largely distracted, vacant performance at Oxygen in 2008, we all know what sadly happened there. There have been bust-ups on stage too, and even a few band implosions. Last September, rock legends Jane's Addiction came a cropper on their reunion tour in Boston, when frontman Perry Farrell angrily shouldered guitarist Dave Navarro mid-song. Given Navarro's genuinely shocked reaction and the fact that the crew rushed to restrain Farrell, who seemed antsy and on edge, and who allegedly later punched Navarro backstage, you'd have to wonder whether the reunion tour was meant to happen at all. Is it worth it? Scottish band The View have also had their fair share of troubles, including a gig in 2023 when frontman Kyle Falconer attacked the band's bassist on stage in Manchester. what was later described as a brotherly bust-up that went too far. Their fellow Scots the Jesus and Mary chain had similar issues, with many instances of on-stage fighting between brothers Jim and William Reed, which saw them violently implode at an LA gig in 1998. The Kinks were famous for it, as were Oasis. Sometimes, ego is the culprit, perhaps exacerbated by various other substances. We're not necessarily saying that Brian Jonestown Massacre frontman Anton Newcombe falls into this category, but it's clear that he is a troubled soul that, like many of the aforementioned musicians, probably shouldn't be on the road, as a disastrous gig in Melbourne in 2023 proved. Like everyone else, any musician can have a bad day at work, but when it becomes a pattern, it becomes a problem. These people are in the entertainment game, and when they strike the right balance, there's no better feeling in the world than witnessing live music by a band or artist at the top of their game. When it creates an uncomfortable viewing experience, however, you begin to wonder about legacy, and how they want to be, or will be, ultimately remembered. A troubled man that needs help, or a talented artist? Only time will tell.